We all know the pandemic has left people feeling a little on edge, but today we're featuring some stories about people who've taken their bad behavior too far. All right. Up first, we got a Connecticut man who was arrested and lost his job after going on a racist tirade at a smoothie shop. Y'all might have seen this. The video went viral over the weekend. Let's take a look.
I want to speak to the person who made this drink. Is that you? That stupid in high school kid. Give it to me right now.
What? Oh, you're calling the police. I'm calling the police. Who are you? Who are you?
Immigrant loser.
What?
Okay, so there's some backstory here, some context. According to the police, the man was upset because his son had a severe allergic reaction to the smoothie. He was hospitalized, but he did order the smoothie without peanut butter, but didn't tell them about his son's allergy. So he's now apologizing for his behavior, saying he was out of his mind with fear after his son collapsed. He couldn't breathe. Now, we also just learned he lost his job at Merrill Lynch, Erica. He was there since 1995. I think once you throw something at a teenager, that's probably not so moral and could be in the clause. What do you think about this? Was it just the anguish of his son and the allergy?
You know, there's no excuse for anyone to behave like this. I understand that it was a medical emergency for his son. I would also think that he would have taken even further precautions if his son was that allergic to peanuts and peanut butter. Like, wouldn't you also be paying attention to the person making your drink? Like, the child went to the hospital, so there was a lot of time for him to think about what the next step should have been. He would have had probably a nice little lawsuit on his hands had he not become the aggressor.
Very litigiously smart. Jeffrey, you're nodding?
Yeah, I agree with Erica. I mean, I have a good friend of mine that's allergic to shellfish, and when we go out to dinner, you have to be like, listen, man, please don't even cook it in the same pan. Wow. That's how allergic I am, and we really have to say that to the waiter, right? If I had a son that was allergic to peanut butter, I would really stay like, listen, you guys got to be careful. Don't use the same thing. I'm not saying it's an excuse to blow up like this, because I have my moments where I lose my temper, and I've dealt with it my whole life. I don't know if it's an excuse to throw your shake at a 16-year-old and disparage who they are or where they come from or whatever it is that they might be, right? Yeah. So he went too far. Is losing his job going too far? I don't know, because we do a lot of stories, actually some coming up where I'll compare the two. But I don't know where we're at in society where people think they could just scream and yell. I want to bring in a personal story. I went to go see Disney on Ice, right, with my kids. And in Denver, you have to wear a mask into the new Ball Arena and show a vaccine. And this guy was angry before he came in, and we were putting on our masks outside the stadium. And this guy gets in this, she had to be 16, and yells in her face like, you know, I'm not wearing this mask because it's stupid. And he's screaming at this 16-year-old girl. I'm right next to him. I was this close to stepping in because I'm like, man, what is your problem? First of all, you know you have to wear a mask in here. Second of all, she's 16. Yeah. It's not like she's running the political country. Right. You know, and you're screaming and yelling at a 6-year-old trying to do better by having a job. And I was this close to stepping in, and I didn't, because then it would have been my problem. Right. But it's like, I have a temper problem, but I don't know where you get off throwing things and yelling in some 16-year-old's face.
Yeah, like where did the immigrant status come in? How did the racist part of that get in?
Because that's what he was thinking. Yeah, right, and it comes out when you're mad or you're drunk. One of those two. And this one, it just appears that he was really upset. But he throws a shake at her head.
He does. And it's hard.
Yeah, I want to tie this to a couple bigger points. One is, like, we cover all the time. We get comments on the show all the time about no one wants to work anymore. Everybody's at home. Right. No one wants to, all our fast food jobs, the bars aren't. It's because of this. I told this story before, and I'll tell it again, Jeff. I was home visiting, my kiddos in L.A., went to a Rite Aid. You know that my son's like a rooster. He's up at 5:30 in the morning. So we're up. We walked to Rite Aid, and at 7 o'clock in the morning, there's a young 24-year-old young Hispanic manager, on duty. And this guy just walks in and, like, gets in his face, no mask, and goes, Where's your LA Times? And the guy goes, sir, I don't know if we carry that, but if we do, it's over there. And he goes, do you and like yelling at him. I chilled out. I almost said something I didn't. My son wanted to go back to the Rite Aid later that afternoon. We go back, standing in that exact same spot. A different manager was getting yelled at by a different guy. The exact same thing. So I'm like, why would you go to work? We tell our kids to work. We say, hey, this is how you learn to be humble, and like you learn from this company, you're going to move up. But you get there, and it's people calling you fat and stupid and black or whatever insult that they think they can hit you with. And it's like, no wonder these jobs are empty. Do you want to go to work every day and see that when it's not filmed? Just a guy, because if they found that guy and it wasn't recorded, he'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about. They called me this. So why would you go to work? Why don't you just become a TikTok star or just be on unemployment? Can you imagine somebody just taking your humanity every day? Go get it. Hurry up. Imagine that every day. Someone with their face. Come on, hurry up. You would lose your mind.
And again, I always equate things to social media, but I'm telling you, I think it has something to do with social media because I agree. And people say whatever they want on social media with no repercussions. And then they're behind that for an hour, 2, 3, 8 to 10 hours a day, insulting people, writing things back and forth that they would never say to a person. Then they get in society and they do things like this because of the reactions that they had on their computer for weeks at a time. So I'm telling you, I think social media has some play in this, although this person's obviously just acting like a jerk.
Yeah, and I always say the social fabric, our contract, our community, it's fraying, guys. It's fraying, and we're seeing it. Let's go to a couple of stories of bad behavior in the air, which is crazy because you're trapped up there. Up first, a United flight from New Jersey to Israel had to turn back 90 minutes into the flight after 2 passengers seated in economy decided to just upgrade themselves to business class. Police boarded the plane when it landed after the 2 passengers reportedly then started a fight. Meantime, a man was arrested after he allegedly removed his pants and his underwear and mooned a flight attendant. Talk about dignity during a recent flight. He's also accused of throwing a can that hit another traveler. He's facing up to 20 years in jail. Am I wrong, Erica, that the social fabric is just like it's just fraying?
Yeah, well, I think we've seen it, and we've really seen it in real time. I mean, people have been isolated. They've been in their own echo chambers, left to their own devices, and there's been no true reintroduction of how to, act in public. Yeah. I mean, this is just classic entitlement. If you think that it's okay to upgrade yourself and then create an issue, it's like these people, the other passengers, were on the plane for an additional 3 hours because the flight had to be diverted because you want to show literally your whole behind, or you want to decide that you're entitled to something that you didn't pay for. It's like, I mean, nothing surprises me anymore, but honestly, it's like, I understand why people are reluctant to return back to society.
Erica, I'm going to channel my inner Jeff here, and I'll just say,
wait, let's get it.
Whatever happened to shame? You know, remember when you would try and, you got terrible seats at the game and you try and sneak down if it was a blowout and go sit close to the court of the field, and then somebody would be like, hey, buddy, up to the nosebleeds, and you would hang your head and walk back. You wouldn't argue. Right. We're in the age now where people argue.
They'll fight you.
That's entitlement.
Yeah,
that's
so
the privilege. Right?
Jeff, I hand it to you.
But here's my thing. When I said I was going to combine the 2 stories that we're doing, why isn't this person losing their job? You take your pants off on a flight, ruin 250 other people's travel plans, and then you throw a can at somebody's head? Why isn't this person losing their job? Why do we continually do these stories? I understand there's fines, but they're banned from whatever United this is.
I know.
Then they just fly American.
I know.
Why aren't they on some sort of blacklist? Why isn't there harder punishment? In the end is what we need. There needs to be consequences. This man lost his job, the first guy who threw it. He's worked there since the 90s. Now his livelihood is over. Should it be? Or should people face the consequences of their actions? And we need to start putting all of them on the same level, whether it be on an airplane or at a smoothie shop or what you do in society in general.
It's like we need to parent these children. That's exactly right. It's ridiculous.